Battles have shaped the course of history, determining the rise and fall of empires, the spread of cultures, and the fate of nations. Some battles, due to their scale, tactics, and sheer human cost, stand out as particularly deadly and impactful. Here, we explore the top 10 deadliest battles in history, delving into their contexts, strategies, outcomes, and lasting impacts. 1. The Battle of Stalingrad, 1942-1943. Context and overview. The Battle of Stalingrad during World War II is often cited as the deadliest battle in history. Fought between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, it lasted from August 23, 1942, to February 2, 1943. Strategies and combatants. The battle was marked by brutal urban warfare, with both sides suffering enormous casualties. Hitler's obsession with capturing Stalingrad, a symbolic city named after Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, led to a protracted siege. Outcomes and impact. With an estimated 2 million casualties, including civilians, the battle was a turning point in the Eastern Front. The Soviet victory marked the beginning of the German retreat, significantly weakening Nazi forces. 2. The Battle of the Somme, 1916. Context and overview. One of the bloodiest battles of World War I, the Battle of the Somme, was fought between British and French forces against the German Empire from July 1 to November 18, 1916. Strategies and combatants. The battle is infamous for the first day, when the British suffered 57,000 casualties. The use of trench warfare, massive artillery bombardments, and the first use of tanks characterized the conflict. Outcomes and impact. The battle resulted in over 1 million casualties, with both sides suffering immense losses for minimal territorial gain. It highlighted the horrors of trench warfare and the stalemate of World War I. 3. The Battle of Verdun, 1916. Context and overview. The Battle of Verdun, another devastating conflict of World War I, took place from February 21 to December 18, 1916. It was primarily between French and German forces. Strategies and combatants. The Germans aimed to bleed France white by targeting a location of symbolic importance. The battle featured relentless artillery bombardments, with a focus on attrition warfare. Outcomes and impact. With approximately 700,000 casualties, the Battle of Verdun became a symbol of French determination and suffering. It significantly weakened both armies, contributing to the overall exhaustion of the European powers. 4. The Battle of Leningrad, Siege of Leningrad, 1941-1944. Context and overview. The Siege of Leningrad during World War II was a prolonged military blockade by German and Finnish forces against the Soviet city of Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, from September 8, 1941, to January 27, 1944. Strategies and combatants. The siege aimed to starve the city into submission, cutting off supply routes and bombarding it relentlessly. The Soviet defense and civilian resilience played crucial roles in enduring the blockade. Outcomes and impact. The siege resulted in over 1 million civilian and military casualties, mostly due to starvation and exposure. It exemplified the severe human cost of the Eastern Front and the brutal nature of siege warfare. 5. The Battle of Berlin, 1945. Context and overview. The Battle of Berlin was the final major offensive of the European theater of World War II, taking place from April 16 to May 2, 1945. Soviet forces launched a massive assault on the German capital. Strategies and combatants. The Soviets employed overwhelming artillery and infantry assaults, facing fierce resistance from the remnants of the German military and Volkssturm militia. Outcomes and impact. With around 1 million casualties, including civilians, the battle ended with the fall of Berlin and the suicide of Adolf Hitler. It marked the definitive end of Nazi Germany and the conclusion of World War II in Europe. 6. The Battle of Kursk, 1943. Context and overview. The Battle of Kursk, fought between July 5 and August 23, 1943, was one of the largest tank battles in history. It was a critical engagement on the Eastern Front of World War II between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. Strategies and combatants. The battle featured extensive use of armored vehicles and marked the last major German offensive in the East. The Soviets had fortified the region, anticipating the German attack. Outcomes and impact. With nearly 1 million casualties, the Soviet victory at Kursk decisively shifted the balance of power on the Eastern Front. It marked the decline of German offensive capabilities and bolstered Soviet momentum. 7. The Battle of Moscow, 1941–1942. Context and overview. The Battle of Moscow took place between October 2, 1941, and January 7, 1942. It was a critical defensive effort by the Soviet Union to protect its capital from the advancing German Wehrmacht. Strategies and combatants. Hitler's Operation Typhoon aimed to capture Moscow before winter. The Soviets, under severe pressure, managed to regroup and launch a counter-offensive as winter set in. Outcomes and impact. With approximately 1 million casualties, the battle halted the German advance and marked the first major Soviet victory. It demonstrated the resilience of Soviet defenses and the strategic miscalculations of the German High Command. 8. The Battle of the Bulge, 1944–1945. Context and overview. The Battle of the Bulge was the last major German offensive on the Western Front during World War II, occurring from December 16, 1944, to January 25, 1945. Strategies and combatants. The Germans aimed to split Allied forces and capture the vital Belgian port of Antwerp. The surprise attack created a bulge in the Allied front lines, leading to intense fighting in the Ardennes forest. Outcomes and impact. With around 185,000 casualties, the battle was a costly setback for the Germans, depleting their reserves. The Allied victory paved the way for the final push into Germany. 9. The Battle of Canaan, 216 BCE. Context and overview. The Battle of Canaan was a major battle of the Second Punic War, fought on August 2, 216 BCE, between the Roman Republic and Carthaginian forces under Hannibal. Strategies and combatants. Hannibal employed a double envelopment tactic, encircling and annihilating the larger Roman army. The Carthaginian forces, though outnumbered, executed a brilliant tactical maneuver. Outcomes and impact. With approximately 70,000 Roman casualties, the battle remains one of the deadliest in ancient history. It demonstrated Hannibal's military genius and severely weakened Roman forces, although Rome ultimately prevailed in the war. 10. The Battle of Antietam, 1862. Context and overview. The Battle of Antietam, fought on September 17, 1862, during the American Civil War, was the bloodiest single-day battle in American history. Strategies and combatants. Union and Confederate forces clashed near Sharpsburg, Maryland. The battle involved intense, close-quarters combat across fields, woods, and a sunken road known as Bloody Lane. Outcomes and impact. With over 22,000 casualties in one day, the battle was tactically inconclusive but strategically significant. It halted the Confederate invasion of the North and provided President Abraham Lincoln the opportunity to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. Conclusion. The deadliest battles in history reflect the profound human cost of war and the significant impacts on societies and nations. From ancient conflicts like Canaan to the devastating battles of World War II, These engagements have shaped the course of history through immense sacrifice and strategic ingenuity. The lessons learned from these battles continue to inform military strategy, international relations, and efforts to prevent future conflicts. References: Keegan, John, The Face of Battle, A Study of Agincourt, Waterloo, and the Somme. Hastings, Max, Inferno, The World at War. 1939-1945. Clark, Alan. Barbarossa, The Russian-German Conflict. 1941-45. Glantz, David M., and House, Jonathan M. When Titans Clashed. How the Red Army Stopped Hitler. Overy, Richard. Russia's War, A History of the Soviet Effort. 1941-1945. Simkin, John, The Battle of the Bulge. Spartacus Educational. Goldsworthy, Adrian, The Punic Wars. McPherson, James M., Battle Cry of Freedom, The Civil War Era. 4.0.